ladies and gentlemen. My name is Neil Grasso, and tonight on What's the Word, we will be discussing an issue that is becoming increasingly relevant in the 21st century: public surveillance footage. In an era where citizens fear abuse at the hands of law enforcement officials, many Americans are turning to smartphone devices to record the actions of police officers. This is done in an effort to combat the misconduct carried out by certain officers that has resulted in hundreds of citizen injuries and even fatalities. In response, many law enforcement agencies have claimed that many of these viral videos that go viral online inaccurately depict the situations that these officers are tasked with handling. As a result, police departments across the country are now requiring officers to wear body cameras to record and document every citizen engagement that they encounter while on duty. This leaves the American people with a serious dilemma. Is 24/7 surveillance the new norm in 2019? With citizens using smartphones to highlight instances of police brutality online and law enforcement officials recording citizens to provide their side of the story, are we left in a world where the cameras are always on and the people of America have no say in the matter? To help answer these questions, I'm joined by Monica Zakara, Angelica Trejo, and Eddie Rivera, graduate students at Sacred Heart University. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Hello there.
So, Angelica, we'll start with you. Do you believe that the rise of citizen journalism and citizen surveillance can reduce instances of police brutality?
Yes, I do believe that by the rise of citizen surveillance and citizen journalism, police brutality can ultimately be reduced. I feel like police officers nowadays, they already know they're being recorded. They know that if they use their violence towards the citizens, that they're ultimately going to get suspended or their name's going to be to the ground, because it's now the norm. People come and just start recording whatever incident is going on. So I definitely think that as time goes, some way or another, the brutality towards the citizens is definitely going to be reduced.
It's definitely a prevalent issue today, and I think you're right. I think that, the more and more we see these cases online, you'd think that, the bad name that certain officers would get because of their actions would really result in maybe them thinking twice next time they would want to, be that aggressive, or would, be as aggressive as they were maybe instructed even. So,
Definitely.
so Monica, do you feel that the viral videos that we see that document these instances of abuse by these police officers, do you think that, these citizen journalists that put these videos out there could actually cause an increase in crime? Why or why not?
This is a very good question, only because it can kind of go both ways. I think that many people want to show America what is going on in their communities. They want to flip out their phones and just tell the world, this is what's going on in my neighborhood and I need you to see it. And if taking out your phone and documenting these viral videos and the police behavior that's going on today is going to make police act a little bit less violent and aggressive towards these people, then so be it. I think that will actually possibly decrease the crime. But we can also argue that it can increase crime. And with that said, Director of the FBI, James B. Comey, has expressed that how police have felt about these videos. So he quotes,
I spoke to officers privately in one big city precinct who described being surrounded by young people with mobile phones held high, taunting them when they get out of their cars. They said to me, we feel under siege and we don't feel much like getting out of our cars.
Now that sounds terrible for a police officer not to even bother to get out of his car because he feels like the public is annoying him with the cell phones. So if we get a partial video just showing the citizen's viewpoint, we only get one side of the story, and I guess that's not fair, to the police officer's side, and that can cause, protests, and we all know that protests are not peaceful at all. They're aggressive. So if an angry protester comes at the police officer, what's he going to do? He's going to have to use force in order to protect. That's his sole purpose of his job. So if he needs to use force, he needs to push people out of the way, that's going to cause crime, and it's going to be, a war essentially between both sides.
Yeah,
But I believe that one thing is pushing people or whatever, but another thing is just shooting 16 times at a person or killing somebody, choking someone to death. I think there's levels to that.
Definitely think there's boundaries there.
There's definitely, these levels of severity that we talk about are tough because, officers are instructed one way, but then, a lot of them will claim that in the moment they were struck with fear or something along those lines, and that causes them to, subdue whoever the suspect may be at the time, and then we see it on camera and it's extremely aggressive. And still at that point, it's not forgivable because if someone loses their life or is severely injured, I don't really care at the time, at least me personally,
Right.
what you were encountering. It's unfair for someone to be, treated to that level of abuse. But I also understand, like you said, like some officers feel like they're under attack, like they're under siege, and that they can't do their jobs correctly without, someone pointing a camera in their face. So it is a double-edged issue for sure. So, Eddie, turning to you, I mean, this issue of police brutality is not a new one. I mean, this one
Absolutely.
extends back, decades in this country's
Mhm.
history. So, with that being the case, why do you think it took until the 2014 shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, specifically, for the issue of filming police officers to be so widespread?
Yeah, like you said, this has been going on for decades. But I mean, if you think about it, things are more accessible now. The world is literally in your pocket. Somebody in the early 1990s wasn't going to put out a video camera and record a situation going on. Now they can do it easily off their phones. Social media and the rise of Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all those three platforms has made it easier to share these events that's going on. So if something's going on live and in the current, you can easily figure out where it's going on, what's happening, and it reaches a bigger audience than it had in the past. So I think that's where the bridge and popularization happened.
Absolutely.
So I think we can all kind of speak to that level of accessibility, even not on this issue. The way
Mhm.
we consume information is so much quicker, and when things like this unfortunately happen, we find out almost instantaneously. Whereas before, at least when I was younger, growing up, when I didn't have access to a smartphone device, it would be on the news maybe one day, and maybe I wouldn't even hear it at all. So
Yes, and I think
yeah.
that as of now, that we have more people recording police officers and what they've done with citizens, I feel like we get a much broader view of what really is happening. And because ultimately, I feel like before, the police officer would just provide journalists what they wanted to, not the whole picture. And that's what we used to just get. The mainstream media would just provide us with what police officers
Mhm.
would provide them.
Yeah.
And those internal investigations are always controversial because they're the ones that get to kind of control and manipulate
Mhm.
all of the information that's, coming back to the journalists or to the public. So actually,
Yes.
Angelica, I want to ask you this. Do you think that police officers should always be wearing body cameras? And as a follow-up, what are the benefits of these body cameras?
In my opinion, I feel like they should, even though I'm kind of like an edge because they only give us one perspective. Their cameras is pretty small. They put them right here, and it just gives us one point of view of the incident. And I feel like that when citizen journalists come in and step in, they give us a much more broader view of the incident. It does help, but ultimately, I feel like this is not the right solution. If police officers are going to be aggressive towards citizens, even if they do have the cameras, they're supposed to be used for more credibility towards them. I feel like it's more for them than for the citizens. And I think that I honestly think that this is not going to be not going to solve the problem of police brutality. And
No, but I think it's also going to hold people accountable for their
Absolutely.
actions.
absolutely,
Absolutely. They're going to be more aware. I feel like
They
police
will be
officers
aware.
should be more aware of what they're doing because they're getting recorded.
Mhm.
But that's not always the case. They're going to do what they're going to have to do. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes they just say, screw it. Like, there's a camera on me. I'm just going to
go ahead
do
and
what's
it.
right in the situation,
because
whatever is right.
They're in
Yeah.
power, and
Yeah.
they feel like they could do whatever they want at times.
But I think those videos are absolutely vital because it's evidence. I
Yes.
mean, when we look back at the Laquan McDonald case where he got shot 16 times, I mean, there was 3 other officers that had dash cams. However, the only one that was running that we saw was the officer that shot him. So, I mean, we have proof that he killed him and he wasn't actually lunging at the officer like he claimed. So, I mean, we have evidence that the officer was guilty as well.
Yeah.
So today, so many people have the power to tell a story right at their fingertips. There's so much power behind a cell phone that we're actually starting to see a power shift among law enforcement and the public. Yet the power isn't exactly shifting from one group to the other. The power is actually shifting to our devices, giving those with access the ability to influence modern America now more than ever. Thanks for watching What's the Word? I'm Neil Grasso. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody. Have a sick night.